Hello, my friends. I'm back with another episode of my African literature series. Today, I'm here with the beautiful things that heaven bears by Dina Mengistu. Last week, I was live streaming through Facebook, and now I'm back via YouTube. And this video will be released on Facebook and Twitter too. The links will be shared there. I am glad to receive your comments and just will be considering certain aspects of this book that caught my attention. To begin with, I can read story summary presented here. Okay, 17 years ago, Sebas Stefanos fled the Ethiopian revolution after witnessing Soldier beat his father to the point of certain death, selling of his parents' jewelry to pay for passage out of the country. Now he finds himself running a grocery store in a poor African American neighborhood in Washington, D.C., where his daytime customers are school children and his nighttime customers are prostitutes and alcoholics. His only companions are two fellow African immigrants, a Congolese waiter and a Kenyan engineer, who share his feelings of frustration and bitter nostalgia for their home continent. Years ago, half a world away, and still in the embrace of family, he never would have imagined himself living a life of such isolation. But after a long period of plight, Silva's neighborhood begins to change. Hope comes in the form of new neighbors, Judith and Naomi, a white woman and her biracial daughter, who restore the grand dilapidated house next door. They become his friends and remind him for the first time in years of what having a family is like. But their arrival signals something more profound for the neighborhood's long-time residents. And when his newfound calm is disturbed by a series of racial incidents, Sepa may lose everything all over again. Told in a haunting and powerful first-person narrative that casts the streets of Washington, D.C., and Addis Ababa through Sepa's eyes, the beautiful thing that heaven bears is a brilliant and deeply affecting debut novel about what it means to lose a family and a country and what it takes to create a new home. This summarizes the book, and there are comments given at the back, and there is author biography here at the flip of the jacket. And just to say a few points on this material, his debut novel that well known throughout the diaspora and the literary community. The beautiful things that heaven bears. The title is taken from Dante and it's at a university when a student, I think it is the protagonist, the major character who was attending college, and he liked that quotation from Dante, so that he kept saying it again and again. The couplet is given here in the book, so that's taken from the work of Dante's. Um, when we see Stephanos, in an interview he gave to a certain journalist, the dialogue or something, uh, he, the author, Dino Mengistu, raised that he took certain aspects of the story from his family members. For example, Sebastianos is maybe I don't know his uncle, Shubru his uncle or something, and so on. So there are certain issues of Ethiopian origin. He mentions certain Ethiopian words, for example, when he had conversations with family like baka or injera or certain things, Zimba like that, even if it is not like how we say it here, and just his recollections of Amharic vocabulary have been employed in the book. Addis Ababa and Washington, D.C. have been at times compared and mentioned was made of both of the places. Mainly the setting is in D.C., but Addis Ababa is also raised as one of the places, particularly to compare, for example, the Logan Circle when it is compared with a statue in Addis. Maybe it could be the Menelik statue or a certain, that could be the one, a statue holding of a man riding a horse. Joseph, the Congolese, is engineer and the waiter is yeah, Joseph the Congolese is the waiter, and the Kenyan is the engineer, whose name is Kenneth. Ken the Kenyan. He's the waiter. So there are certain aspects of his waiter job of stealing whiskey or liquor, certain materials from the hotel, including I think a cup, styrofoam cup, and he sneaks away items and brings home. So these friends from 17 years ago are meeting at the grocery store owned by Sepa Stefanos. And because they were working at Capital Hotel a while back, they just had to retain their friendship and meet at the African American neighborhood in Washington, D.C. In addition, so they booth and give advice to Sefa Stefanos regarding business and his future life. This guy was brought to America after he saw beating his father being beaten to certain date in Addis Ababa, and then his mother gave him certain valuables, and he made it to Kenya and then to the United States where his uncle lived, and his uncle kept him at his house for 5 years, and that was a very critical incidents because for 5 years they were living in a building, I think a 40 something story building, where Ethiopians from the imperial regime were coming, were living, just remnants of the regime were living there, and it could be like a certain place like Salva, because there were people, mothers, aunties, and everybody speaking in Amharic. The loneliness of Saint Stephanus would stop here for the better, not only through the African friends of Joseph and Kenneth, but also through a white woman who comes next door. She just moves in next door, refurbishing the building, an old four-story building, and she's a professor at one of the universities and having a child from a Mauritanian, African, or Arab man having a child by him, a biracial child, Naomi, who adores Sefa Stefanos, and then they just spend a lot of time reading from Brothers Karamazov and other books during her semester break. But finally, she makes it to Connecticut to her relatives, and they part. Finally, the building of her mother's, Judith building, was burned down by an intruder in her absence, and she Judith leaves the place. There is no love relationship between Judith and Sebastianos, except for a little kiss and stopovers and dinner parties. Logan Circle is a place, an African American neighborhood where there are a number of buildings whose tenants fail to pay their rents, and those buildings get demolished by owners, and there are riots and silence of petitions to improve the situation, but to no avail. The United States in this story is, I think, portrayed as a country that is a place where every immigrant comes in and spends a miserable life in the system, in the melting pot. Yes, people working the whole day, including the uncle of this hero, Stephanos, and other, the Kenyan, the Congolese, they're working. I think this is the Professor Judith, who is on a sabbatical, who is having ample time. Even when she was teaching, I think she was seeing that she had time to take her daughter to school, and she had time to go to the gym and so on. So the other people living in longer circle were people having no money and leading miserable lives. Kenya and Congo and the colonial experience is also touched upon. The much of the dialogue among the African friends is of remembering which country became free in what time of the year, or which decade or when. And then these friends would raise how dictator after dictator attempted coups, and those coup d'etats made or shattered communities, countries, and just 30 something of those coup d'etats are mentioned. I think it is 67 of those coup d'etats that we know so far in the African continent. So the United States, the CIA, and all new colonial forces, I think, are mentioned here as agents who enable this coup d'etat and who force the countries to stay where they are, giving their resources away and being unable to develop. Ethiopia and the emperor, you know it, the emperor is mentioned, he described as the emperor in Ethiopia, power embodied in a single man, page 46. You see, it was everything before he gave power, before power was snatched away by Mengistu Haile. And there is something lovely when Judith mentioned she was not sure if she could consider her professor job for the coming years. If she considers working as a professor, and she thinks that she would not. I think I share that feeling of somebody bored about his job. So it's a few of the issues. I'm glad that I read this book. This book by an African American or Ethiopian American, whatsoever you call it, is an interesting one, and I'm glad that I read it and I see something about it. Hopefully, in the future, I'll reread it with an improved English and get the gist of the story and say something far better than this. Thank you for your attention.